Welcome to the Embody Your Design podcast. I am your host, Amy May, 6'3" emotional manifesting generator. I am obsessed with human design and mindset tools and using them to create a life beyond my wildest dreams. My goal with this podcast is to bring you human design and share stories around how you too can begin to embody your human design. What is talked about in this podcast are the thoughts and opinions of me and my guests. I'm always welcome to feedback should you have any. Thank you for being here, and let's dive in as we embody our human design, one conversation at a time. All right, guys, I am so excited to have Eos here with me. She is a generator and a soulful website designer, which is like, ooh, so juicy. Like, we don't even think about that. And I'm excited to have this conversation. Like, she's been in her human design experiment for about 7 years now. And I always love having people who have been working or have known about their human design for a while, just to see how the embodiment practice has come through. So Eos, do you want to introduce yourself for the listeners here today and tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Yes, thank you. Also grateful to be here with you and to have this conversation and to dive in. I'm Eos and I'm living in Spain with my husband and 2 daughters and 3 dogs. We're living in a really small island called Menorca. And I work together with my husband. He is really the technical part of our business, does all the technical things, development. He's a WordPress developer, and I'm really the creative brain of the business. And I'm really for the soulful part, for creativity, for design, and this kind of part. And like you mentioned, I'm 7 years ago, I got my first reading. And it was from a client then. She just learned human design and became a human design expert. And she looked for people who were willing to get a reading. And I was like, of course, let me try that out. And I feel in the beginning, it was really like, I'm a generator. I don't like that. I would love to be something like more special. Or even the waiting to respond felt quite hard in the beginning, especially.
Yeah, and so like your initial reaction was like, okay, I'm a generator, cool. Like, how do you feel about human design now after like living within your design for 7 years?
Yes, especially, I mean, the most common thing for generators is always the waiting to respond. And I can feel now looking back, and I'm also a line tree, and line trees always want to experiment and they need to feel the things, right? So I was in the beginning quite stubborn. I'm like, no, I can do things without waiting to respond. Of course, I can bring that through. And then I learned that no, the things that I just tried to go through without, there is like a request from the outside. They don't work, they don't flow as much. It's like really hard, and I don't have really the energy for it. So I learned the responding part quite well. And I feel like even with the emotional part, I'm an emotional generator, I sometimes have to wait until the answer gets clear.
Yeah, and so one of the biggest questions that I get is around like working with that emotional wave and that emotional authority. And how is it that you like work with your emotions when it comes to making decisions?
I think the key thing is really allowing myself time and leaning into both parts, like leaning into the no and what does it mean and how does it feel, and leaning into the yes. And I feel every decision really has kind of these waves, and it goes up and down, and there's the no and there's the yes, and it goes, and until then it becomes clear. And I feel that really well because I have one daughter, she's an emotional projector, and then I have my husband who is a projector, but I think sacral. Is it possible? I think so, yes.
Not
sacral.
and not
No,
for the
not for
projector, not
projector.
no, it may be maybe spleen,
Yes,
like spleen. Yeah.
spleen, yes.
Yeah.
So he's a spleen projector, and then my younger daughter is a generator. She's a sacral generator. And my younger daughter, she has the answers just clear there. And I and my other daughter, we are always on this wave, like, we are not sure. Is it that? Is it this? So I could learn even like with seeing others, like my family, how they respond. And as soon as I put on pressure, or even my daughter, if we put on pressure, it becomes really difficult for the emotional part. The more I allow the wave, the faster the decision comes through, actually.
Yeah, like just like leaning back and giving yourself space
Totally.
to like not make a decision, to not make a decision right away. And yeah, that's been something I've been playing around with, and even like asking for that time. Like if somebody is pressuring me to make a decision, like I say, hey, can I sleep on
Yes.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's also like it's really tightly connected with people pleasing and with boundaries in a way. So, and we want to please in a way. So we just want to have the answer ready, but we sometimes just don't, or mostly just don't if we are emotional.
Yes, exactly. And it like so often, like when other people are involved in decisions, like you mentioned, the people pleasing part, it's like we don't want to disappoint people, but we also need a little bit more time and just to really feel out those waves. And so yeah, like really giving yourself permission to like take that time
Yes.
to feel that out. And then I'm single, so I always, whenever I have people on who have like families and like kids within, and especially all different designs, I always love to ask, like, how do you work and like balance with like knowing the different energy types like within your family, especially since like two of you, it sounds like, are emotional and need that extra time, but the
Yes.
other two, they can make decisions like right away. Yeah. How do you guys work together with those conflicting energies?
That's a beautiful question. I think our youngest daughter is just the leader.
Yeah.
She's actually, and it's quite interesting that the designer, she's actually a generator, but she has just her ego center and the sacral center defined, and
Okay.
all other parts are open. So she has some projector energy through that a lot of openness. And my other daughter, she's a projector, but she has like lots and lots of center fields. She has the same amount of centers filled like me, who is a generator. So she has like her chart full, but just her sacral not.
Yeah, and that's so interesting. And that comes to the conversation around like the types, and so many people, like there's this general consensus that like, oh, projectors don't have energy but generators do, but it really is about how many centers you have to
Yes.
find. Yeah, like, and that makes like a really big difference. And you've noticed that like within your family and like everybody's charts, like, correct?
Yes. Yes, totally. I think my husband, me, and my older daughter, we have a similar amount of defined centers. And our youngest daughter, she is a generator, but has only the two centers. So actually, the other two, my older daughter and my husband, are projectors, but they have a lot of energy. They have more energy than our youngest daughter. So it's quite interesting to see that.
Yes. Oh, that's so fun. And so like based on like some of the things we've been talking about, it sounds like you do use a little bit of human design in like your parenting and how you relate to your family. Is this something where I know we talked ahead of time and you said like, I have never like actually like fully studied human design or anything, but like you're familiar with it. But like, do you use like human design to like guide and like how you raise your kids?
In a way, yes, but like in a quite open way, because I think it's just like one more system, and it's beautiful if someone like goes into that. It's not my part that I would teach or something in that way, but I also know that my younger daughter is a Virgo
Yeah.
and ascendant Libra, and my older daughter is a Capricorn and has ascendant Libra too. So I also know this kind of aspects. So I think, yes, they play into it, but more as a whole and not just only like human design. I feel it's really important with all this system that it keeps open, that we don't like limit ourselves.
Yeah.
It is something that like juices us up, that we know ourselves better. And it feels to me human design is really a system to get to know ourselves and how we function in different situations, in different ways. And therefore we get that reflection back just as an image as, okay, this is how your energy is laid out, and this is how your energy is mechanically working.
Exactly. Like it's so fascinating, but to be so attached to like one system or one way of thinking
Yes.
can really limit us. And so like, yeah, of course, like you're gonna, when you recognize like, hey, my kid makes decisions similar to me based on emotions, I'm gonna give her the space to be able to do that.
Yes, yes, in that
And
way. Mhm.
you know, with the other, you know, with the husband and like the other kid, like just giving them this space to, even though it's not like giving them the freedom to make decisions quickly because they can.
Totally, totally,
And
totally.
balancing all of that out, like I think, oh, I love that so much. And I love like how you brought up like you don't need to be like teaching human design in order to use it. Like you can use
Yes.
what you've learned. And you know, we talked about like you're a 1-3 1-3 generator, and so that one line, it's all about like that research, that foundation, and that investigating. And you can like you're using that in your own life to, you know, help other people, and like just using your knowledge there, which is really amazing. Do you use have you used like human design within how you run like your business?
Mm-hmm. Probably, like I have my design questionnaire, and in the design questionnaire, I ask for their birthday and the birth time if they are like willing to share it. But I don't have like a setup. Probably I use it similar like in my family. So, and I don't have like that I show them your projector and therefore we will do your website like this. It's more for me to get an overall view of who are they, what's their energy, and what could work for them. Probably with someone with more open centers projector, we would go more towards like scaling and having maybe even like passive income and this kind of things. And with a generator we would go more towards where they create, especially in the beginning, even before starting the website, creating the response. So how go out there and try it out. And
Yeah.
and so a little bit, but it also really depends, depending on the client. There are some clients where I feel it really strongly, especially if they are in their experiment from themselves and they come up with it themselves. And with other clients, I just have a look at it and I'm like, okay, it's fine.
Oh, awesome. So like you do when like, you know, when you're working with a client, they fill out a questionnaire, you do get their birth information, and you're looking at their human design, and it's really like a partnership almost, where you're gonna like you use what you know about human design to guide them. But if they're like if they want something else, or if they have like a particular vision, you know, you listen to that, which is great.
Yes.
Yeah.
And intuition first, always. Yes.
Yes, I love that. I love that. And, you know, a lot of the times, like people, you know, when they come to me and they want to learn human design, they think like they need to be a human design like reader, or
Mm.
like do human design readings in order to use it. But really, this is just, and what I like to share is like, this is just a tool. Like I feel like everybody should be or could be using human design even in like like corporate. corporate jobs or like anywhere, because it's really about like learning how other people function, how people are a little bit different from you and can really like tailor how you communicate with people, which I think is really beautiful. And do you do certain things because of what you've learned like in your design, like as a generator? Like is there a particular way, not even just your type, but within like anything you've learned in your human design, like have you used it in how you show up in your business, like how you maybe like run or market or anything like that?
Mm-hmm. Like as a system like this, not, but I think what it really gave me is permission.
Mm-hmm.
The permission to be more of who I am, and permission to be interested in one thing and really go deeper. In my marketing, it probably would show up with like the tree and having the experience and just trying out all the things and not like judging myself if I'm not that consistent. Like some people say you have to be in your marketing and every week this, and but that I allow myself to try out a blog, and then it doesn't feel right anymore for my emotional kind of wave,
Mm-hmm.
then I try out something else and I find my way through that in a way. And obviously it's also a balance with, and sometimes consistency is just needed for business.
Oh, for sure. And
But I
yeah.
don't, yes, but I don't try. I try to not put myself in a box that is not mine. And I think there is my child and studying human design, having a look at that and my lines, and really gave me permission for that.
Yeah, and so like, you got to know yourself like within your design on such a deep level that you've given yourself permission to show up in a way that feels really good to you, which is, I mean, I say this for everybody, like show up in a way that's really good for you, but especially for
Journey.
anybody who's a generator type with that like sacral and being in that like satisfaction signature is like so incredibly important. Like it's our highest frequency to be in that like satisfaction.
Yes, to have that kind of positive response if we ask ourselves. And I think that you can see that, or I see that even in my marketing. In that way, it's also the other way around. So if I start sharing things because I think I have to share this, I have to follow through with this launch because I planned it, I have to do that, then I post without that yes response. And then it doesn't get like the energy back. Like there's like just a tiny bit of likes on my Instagram post, for example, when normally I have 3 times more. And I really feel how the energy works there. And I think that's really the experiment.
Exactly. And I think like I've noticed that, people they get a little like scared, or there's some fear around like pulling out of something that they said that they would do, but it no longer feels aligned. And something that I've really enjoyed watching like from other coaches is when they're really honest and just say, you know what, I started to do this doesn't feel good anymore, so I'm putting a pause, or I'm switching it up, or I'm stopping it. And like I personally feel like incredibly connected to them when they do that. And because I was like, oh, that takes some guts, like just to,
Yeah, it shows integrity, it shows
yeah.
authenticity, and that's what we want in the end, more than consistency.
And if it happens often, then maybe there's something going on there. But at the same time, like I personally would rather have somebody who feels really good and is going to show up and be in integrity with what they're going to sell, versus like selling something just because they said they were going to sell it.
Totally.
Yeah.
And it's the energy. I mean, we feel these things that you can see in the chart, like the lines and the mechanics of it. We feel that intuitively in our energy field. we just
Yes.
like words to describe it, like with the cognitive way of thinking.
Yeah. And I've noticed for me, I was I like felt called to share this last night and I never did, like on a live, and life happened and it's meant to come out now. But like for me, like I have felt really in my satisfaction signature, like doing these podcast
Mm.
interviews and writing emails to my clients, like social media, like Facebook, Instagram. It's like, I feel it just does not feel really good to me. Like it
Mhm.
fleeting moments, I feel inspired to post, but there's something about like being consistent on there. Like it's just I realize it's because of the lack of like freedom. Like you can't say
Mm.
certain things on Facebook. You
Yeah,
can't
you're like
say
quite committed. Yes, yes.
yeah. And even when we were talking, I was like, yeah, you can say whatever on this podcast. It's free. Like it's I
Yes.
really value like that freedom to talk, the freedom to share, like freedom of information. It's the librarian and me. Like, I'm just like, yeah, like, let's put all this out here. And so that's where like I will be showing up consistently on my podcast, like each and every week. There is like content. I'm excited. It feels good. It feels very much in flow and integrity. And
Mhm.
that's where I've been seeing and experiencing the growth is within like my podcast and within my email list because it feels really good to me. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
and sometimes there is really also like knowing, okay, social media doesn't feel good to me, maybe Instagram or Facebook or something. What would need to shift and in which way? And in which way do we have the control to shift that? Maybe freedom of speech there, okay, there are some lines, but what else could we like change about it that it feels exciting again?
Yeah. And part of that, like I took a break. I'm gonna be
Okay.
like
Yeah.
honest, um, like I probably took like a 4 or 5 month break from like showing up consistently. And now I'm feeling like, okay, I'm ready again. And
I
in the
get it. Yes.
meantime, like, I would like just share podcast like, okay, my podcast excites me, I'm gonna just do like an
Yeah.
audiogram and share
Yes.
that, or like share my podcast links or whatever. Like it, like I play around so that it like can that I can't, like people are like, oh, she does exist. Okay.
Yes,
But
I think there you change your intention for
yeah,
social media. It's just visibility.
yeah.
And then maybe the freedom is not anymore the important part, because then the freedom you have in your podcast, and
Hmm.
then the visibility, there is my podcast, it exists. And so Instagram or Facebook become another kind of way of what their intention is. Their intention is creating visibility for you.
Exactly, yes. And I'm a 6'3" profile, and so like that 3 line experiment, and like I gotta try and do this and like be in flow. Like there's a lot of elements within my chart that is really about just being present, being in
Yes.
that present moment. Like that 3420 channel that's in my conscious sun, earth. I can't remember. It's within my incarnation cross, and my motivation is innocence, which I learned is just really about being in that present moment and not having an agenda, just like doing what I love to do. And so that's really what I
Beautiful.
do. And it's been working for me. Like it's a slow and steady like build up, but it's working, and I get to amplify that. And it makes me happy and I love it. And we're
Yes.
having this conversation and I love it. And so there's that. Yeah. With when it comes to like we talked about like marketing and stuff, and I know you do some, like you have your business with your husband with like the website design. Like what do you have any like advice or insight when it comes to like building your website and really being like you're the expert of like the soul part? Like how do you put your soul into your website?
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a big part of the brand.
Yeah.
And I think the better you yourself know yourself, like the better you know who you are, the better you can reflect that. So like the first thing to create a business that is soul aligned is really knowing yourself and creating that knowledge. And then it is the second part would be really defining, like I call it the soul circles. And here we come to my book. I have written a book, The Soul of Business. And I have related the chakra energies of our body to 7 circles that also reflect in our business, which would be like who we are, like our core values, how we serve, what we do, what our ideal clients are, our expression and how we speak and how we share, our visual expression, and also rituals, and kind of like how do we connect with the divine and with everything there is, and how do we show up and how are we in devotion. And if the more you see that, your website basically should just be an energetic container that holds that energy for you. So you can lean back even if you're not online, and people can come to your website and they can check out your energy. They can feel your energy more than just reading it.
Okay. Yeah. And so like with some of the elements like on the website, it's not just the words, but it's also like the feel and like the look of it. So I'm just guessing here, but do you use things like colors and like obviously like graphics, as in like why
Yes.
can't I even think of logos and like, little like designs and stuff. And so is that like part of the work that like
Of
you
the
and your
brand.
husband do?
Yes, that's part of the branding, part of the whole creation. Yes. Like, for example, how I start working on a website is really like with a questionnaire for the client itself and also for me. And there are questions like, for example, the birth date, like I just mentioned before, but then there is a question, if your business would be an animal, what kind of animal would it be?
I love that.
Or if your business would be a recipe, what kind of recipe would it be?
Ooh. I don't know how I would answer that. I love that. Oh my gosh. And so you take those answers and you work with the client to create like this, essentially like the soul of their business on the website.
Yes.
Love that.
Like really their energy imprint to bring that in, and what they want to create. We also we don't work really with the person they are right now. We basically also feel like, what's your ideal day? What's your ideal version of yourself? And how can we already create that version of you for the website? And how can we stretch you that you like just grow into that in a beautiful way? So it's kind of, yes, your energy, but also your energy of a future imprint, a little bit like manifesting.
I love that, like kind of working with like the higher self a little bit, and like, or your future self, like people call it different things, but like that next like level of you. Oh, that's really beautiful, because that's something that, I'm a manifesting generator, and sometimes like it's like, and I also have some manifestor clients, like they move quickly. It's like they'll one of my clients was working with a designer, and it's like they came to a decision, but the designer was taking too long to actually put the design out there, that like the person like evolved again and again. So I love that idea of like working with the next level version, or like who they want to expand.
Yes. And there something comes to mind, like for example, with a manifestor, you would really create a framework of what stays stable in their life.
Yeah.
So then they can change in that framework. They can put out another offer here and another offer there. And what changed is only like maybe the symbols of this or that. And we just want to get to that baseline vibe of them. so they can like really express and play in that kind of structure. I always call the website like your masculine structure. That
Yes.
holds you, and your work is more like your feminine flow that really creates. As a coach, it depends a little bit on your work, but a service-based business owner, we want to be more in that flow and in the trusting and in that part. And the website holds us. It has the payment systems, it has the kind of processes, and it's more about creating that structure for a manifesto that put them in a box.
Yeah, and I've noticed, like, I noticed that, and like, obviously, like, I'm a 3-line, I've learned lessons, but like, I had somebody do, in like fall of 2020, I had someone make like a logo for me and do some branding, and I didn't get it where I could like edit it because I've changed my title, like, I mean, my brand is my name, but I've changed my title probably about like 5 or 6 times at least since then, and I can't like change the little like title underneath. I was like, ah, I would like, yeah,
Probably if you have it for your website or something, you can just cut it off.
that's what I did. Yeah. Yeah. So like the logo, like the I did change the font a little bit, like certain things like I changed, but certain things like I kept like the same, like the logo without the words. Like, yeah, it works. I love it. It's like perfect. And the colors I love, like it's perfect. But it's just like that one little thing. I was like, oh, I wish I would have gotten that editable. And not that I don't have the software to be able to do that because I'm not a graphics person. I use Canva, but I think they use
you
something.
can still put, yes, you would do with a vector program like a logo, but you could still put your logo in Canva, and then you put a tagline under that, and then you can change it as much time as you want, and you have kind of a template for your logo.
Yeah, yeah. I've been playing around with that kind of a thing, and I've done like some editing with it, but it's just like I just changed my title too much. I think this current one is gonna stick for a while. I'm like, okay, I think I got it now. I think I got it right. I experimented for like a year and a half, and I think I'm good now. But who knows? But
it's beautiful that you allow yourself that experiment and you allow yourself the change.
Yes, exactly. Like I give myself permission to be who I am, and like I call myself like the human design librarian now, because for so long I denied that I really love like my job working as a librarian, and now I've just like fused my 2 identities together, and it feels like really good, and it feels like a part of who I am. Whereas like for so long I was just denying certain parts because like it's not normal for somebody who's an online business owner to want their day job. Usually it's for people who are wanting to escape, but it's like, no, I really actually love what I do. And I'm not big on astrology. I mean, I know a little bit. I'm just no expert in it, but it's something in my astrology chart that like with money and like I'm meant to be in public service. So I was like, all right, this is perfect. Yeah. So I love it. I love everything. So what would you say, like, since learning your human design and really getting to know yourself on that like soul level, what has been one of the biggest changes that you noticed in your life?
They're probably subtle, but I think more permission, and maybe I already mentioned it, but more permission to be myself. Also, I think, and we come here back to the family, more permission and seeing and more saying, okay, every one of us has its own kind of energy and we are working different. One part for myself that comes for that is that I'm a lot of times I can just work and 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 day and night, and
Mhm.
and I love it. And my family is not like that. Nobody else in my family, and I'm just really fast. Also, I have an idea and I can just work through it quite fast, even though I'm not a manifestor, but I can just pull it through. And I think that's my the center. Is it the emotional center? No, it's not. It's the heart center.
Yeah.
I can just, and I'm the only one in our family who has that kind of heart center, who can just show up consistently. I don't have the problem to finish a project. I have that energy to go through. And a lot of times I judged myself. I'm like, oh no, I can't just like do a book in a weekend. That's not okay.
Mhm.
But when I have the energy and when there is the question and when I respond to that, I can do that. And I didn't allow myself that in the beginning. So I think through the human design, I started to allow this to myself. And it's okay to pull through a project like this. I don't have to pace myself and wait, but I can just go through and finish it up, even if everyone else needs a month or two or a year.
Mhm.
And I do that same thing in a weekend or in a day. It's still worthy. It's not worthless.
Oh, I love that. And it's so interesting because, like, everybody's design is different, and it's not necessarily the type. It's like the center's energy, and it could even be like what transits are around, and like maybe something was activating something else within your chart for a couple days, and you're like, yeah, I got the energy, let's do this. This feels really aligned, like let's go for it. And that's really beautiful. Like, and so often, like, one of my human design coaches said this, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so powerful. um don't let like don't let your don't hold yourself back from doing
Mm.
things or being who you are or anything like that. Like, I think she said, like, let other people like hold you back, or like let other people say no to you. Like, but I think it was more, I gotta clarify this because some people could take this the wrong way, but it was more, if it's affecting other people, let other people say no.
Yeah.
Like, so often, like I said, I'm single. I've been starting to date. And so it's like I've been giving myself permission to ask for what I want from guys and allow them to tell me
Mm.
no, instead of not asking for certain things to begin with
And
because I was
create.
holding myself back. Just to use that like as an example, or even like within like business, like put yourself out there and like share things, and then allow other people to say no, or you can't do that, this is the rule or whatever, which can be a whole other can of worms. But at least like putting yourself out there and giving yourself that permission to be big
Mm.
and to like work and do things, which is
Yeah.
so
And I see a lot of line tree energy there,
yeah.
probably, right? That we want to
Yeah.
share. Yes. And the six is a little bit like a tree until a certain age, right?
Yeah, like the six line operates like a three for the first 30 years, which I'm past that. But again, like even in this part of my life now, I still have that three line energy. So I'm going to be doing more of that. It's going to feel more like a three line still. Probably my
Sometimes.
entire life, because I've got that three line, and it's so fun and I love it. But everything is a lesson, and these are the lessons that I bring to my clients. Like, I share and I guide through like stories and through my experiences and asking questions, and I love it. It's just it's just
Beautiful.
like
It
you
is.
learn and you bring. So I know you mentioned like you had a human design reading like 7 years ago. Like, what other human design, like how did you like learn more about like human design? Like, did you read books? Did you take courses? Like, how did you learn about human design?
Mhm. I I was in a membership for about a year, which
Okay.
was kind of like one monthly meeting where we just analyzed different things. That was about maybe 3 or 4 years ago.
Okay.
I have probably about 20 books.
Okay. Yeah.
And
I love it.
I love books, so I'm with you on that. And probably also here, like line 1, line 3, you can never have too many books. And then I also like, what I quite love is the Genie Keys.
Yeah.
I don't know if you work with them, if you, and I was through, like there are the 3 sequences. I went to the first, the second, and I'm starting with the third one right now.
Oh, are you in that the prosperity retreat thing? Or did you just take his course online?
I did it alone. I did it take
Oh,
alone.
okay.
Self-study.
Got it. Yeah, I so in my human design certification, the person went like did all 3 of the sequences in Gene Keys, but on his website, I have the first 2 sequences, because with the second one I did the I think it was in like 2020 into 2021, they did like the second sequence as like a retreat, like a 6-month thing. I did that.
Yes.
And that was great.
It's an online course more on my own. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So the Genie Keys actually, I quite resonate with the way of how they are told and how the stories are told. And I don't remember the number, but it's my Genie Key, like the sun, I guess, is the taming of the small, and which is like small, consistent action steps. And it just resonates so much with who I am and how I work and how I show up.
Yes, I love the Gene Keys also. I think I have an interview coming up where I think we're gonna dive into it. And a couple of the people I've talked to, like they've been into like the Gene Keys also. And of course I wanted to ask like how you like studied like how you studied human design, because I think like so many people think that they need to be certified in order to know and to use it, when you really don't. Like you can get the knowledge from books, you can get the knowledge from being a part of like a membership or anything like that. And so I love like seeing how different people like learn and how they've experimented, because there's no wrong way to do it. Which leads me to what I ask everybody, like towards the end of these interviews. And if somebody is like new to human design, like what do you recommend like for diving deeper, and like maybe like a next step, like how do I learn more about human design?
Like where to start?
Yeah.
Probably really just getting a reading. I think that's a really good start. And then probably the first thing that you start with is really with, are you like responding? Are you waiting for invitation? Are you waiting a cycle to conclude that? And just, I think just the more you experiment, but I'm a 3 line.
Yeah.
It really, like for me, what came from me was really the experiment, the feeling it in, not just having it cognitively, but really applying it.
Yes. And that's where, like, I'm not surprised you were in like a human design membership where people met, once a month and stuff. Like, I think having a community to be able to like talk and like, either like meet up on Zoom or something and like talk, for people who have defined throats, which is a lot of us, or like a safe space like within like a Facebook group or like some other form of community, just to
even your podcast is a perfect place to start.
Yes.
Like everywhere, like I think it's really diverse, but like that's probably the first step of your experiment, or could be the first step. What speaks to you? Do you learn more through a podcast? Do you learn more through a membership where you apply? Do you learn more through the reading? Do you learn more through a book?
Yeah.
So probably that could be the first step of the whole experiment.
Oh yes, I love that. I love that. Like, how do you learn the best? Because we just, so much information out there is, especially like certain things within human design, they're not in the books, at least not the books that I've seen. And like I was working with, and um as of the recording of this episode, I did like officially get like the decision and the yes for me to like write a freaking human design book that's going to be different. I'm so excited.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Like celebrating you.
Yeah, I just it was a response. Like I kind of thought about it and I was like, yeah, okay. But then I had I literally got 2 days ago, I got a random DM, like someone I don't even know. You should write a human design book. And I was like, all right, I'm done. That was like my third sign from someone outside of me. It was like, you should write a human design book. Because I realized like there's people who learn by reading.
Yes.
And there's so much like audio content out there, but there's some people who do better with reading.
Yeah, I feel that for me, probably I feel that I learn more with reading, as I can go like in my own tempo. I can stop. I have to stop, and I have to go to Google and to like look up what does it mean, and dive even deeper in parts. I have often 2 or 3 books, especially with human design. Yeah. There's like lines only, and then there's this only. So there's like more books than one even involved.
Exactly. And just like it's a part of information accessibility and it's something that like I recognize. And so I'm switching how I put my content out there, and having it be more accessible for everybody, like for different learning styles. And I'm super excited. And I'm like, yeah, let's like I digress with like a random announcement I wasn't planning on making, but it's all good. It's all good. But the final question, like I want to thank you so much for being on here. And so for people who are interested in like, yeah, I want a website that like reflects part of my like next level me and all that, like how can people get in touch to work with you?
Yes, like the best way is probably to my website. It's my name, eoskoch.com. And there is also a quiz, like where you have like a first idea of your brand style, which would be eoskoch.com/quiz. Or even my book is a beautiful way to start if you want to get to know me better and are someone like with more, who wants more foundation first. And it's called The Soul of Business with Eos Koch.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah, and all the links will be in the show notes for you guys, like website, Instagram. I will have a link to the book and all of the things for you guys, so you don't have to worry about writing anything down in case if you're driving, because let's be safe. But I just want to thank you so much for coming on here again. This has been an incredible interview. I enjoyed the conversation immensely.
Me too. Thank you so much, Amy. So grateful that I was here.
Okay, you guys, if you have not heard about Anchor by Spotify, it is the easiest way to make a podcast with everything that you need all in one place. This is what I use to create my podcast, and I don't know about you, but I love things that are free, and I have tried other places to make podcasts, and just Anchor makes it so easy because it has the tools to allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer, and you can distribute your podcast on all these different listening platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more. And especially me as a PC user, it's easier for me I love Spotify. I'm obsessed with it, but it's easier for me to use like something that isn't just Apple product based. And it's everything that you need to make a podcast all in one place. And it's totally free. So you can download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. Want to dive even deeper? I invite you to get your Human Design Abundance Blueprint. In this blueprint, you will receive a personalized breakdown of your Human Design chart and how to use it to be your most abundant self. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts. As a special thank you, you can send your screenshot of the review to theamymae@gmail.com and my team will send you a little gift. All the details are in the show notes. I invite you to tag me on Instagram at the_HD_librarian with your favorite part of this episode. Thanks again for listening and see you in the next episode.